Hey man, you gotta like this. You gotta like this. Yes, this is the countdown. I have him on the show again, Mr. Bradley Vinson. How are you doing, sir?
Doing good, man. Always doing good, man. Always good to see good people.
This is awesome to have you back on.
You gotta
Like
like this.
this.
Yes, this is the countdown.
Let me see. Am I?
On the
I think it
show
might be my.
again,
I
Mr.
thought I
Bradley
muted
Vinson.
this.
How are you doing, sir?
Doing good,
Hey.
man. Always doing good, man.
Let me see where that's
Always good to
coming
see
from.
good people.
Where I
This
am
is
I live?
awesome
Is
to
it on
have
your
you
end?
back on.
Are you watching
This,
it?
this is the countdown. Let me see.
No, I'm over here. You through my headphones.
Thought I muted this.
Hey everybody, how you doing? Let me figure out where this
Now, let me
is
see where
coming
this
in from. I could be watching it in a couple of different places and don't know it.
Technology, man. Technology. I'm over here. You through my headphones.
It's on my
Hey,
end. So let me
everybody,
figure
how
out
you
where I
doing?
have it at.
This is
You know how we do this, right? I have like 4 or 5 different TVs going on at one time. So let me see if I can figure this out.
That's why I do graphics. I don't do
figure out
audio.
where I have it at.
There
You know
it
how we
is.
do this, right? I have like 4 or 5
This is
different
awesome.
TVs
Hey guys.
going on at one.
There we go. So I was actually using, trying to get my links for the show and
Yeah.
left that video up behind me. So while I was getting ready for the show, that link just popped up and there I go. I said, it's not the TV, but you know how we have our streaming computer. And then we have the computer that we do work on. I'm not trying to gloat or anything, but I just had to figure out which computer was playing. And now
Hey, man.
we are
That's why it's a
good.
stream show, man. That's how you do it. It's like when things happen, you just adjust and make it work, man.
Oh, it
Don't
always
panic.
is like
Just
that.
slow down and make it work.
And we
That's how
are
it is.
on the countdown, so you guys can see the countdown coming through. And of course, I definitely want to say hello to my man, Mr. Camera Junkie, just already saying hello to us. People are getting ready for this show, Bradley. Like they're really ready
Man,
for this
you got me all
show.
excited now. I don't know. I need to make sure I'm ready.
There we go. And then Kathy, the principal, Miss Kathy Walker is here.
Oh,
She says,
hey,
hello,
hey.
guys. And she's on time this time. So thank you for being on time with us. And Felicia, how you doing? She says, God, people, guess what?
That's
Man,
my
we
sister
have
there. There we
such
go.
a group of people, of believers that are in Ecamm. And I appreciate all of
Yeah.
you guys and the support you give the stream show. So continue to come on in and please hit the like button as you do that, because we have a great show that is built for you tonight. Okay, so for everybody that's like me, you have to be the content creator, you have to be the host, you have to be the interview person. I guess that is the host as well. You have to send the questions, produce a show, host a show, all that kind of stuff together. And you also have to be a graphic artist. And some of us are just not trained in that world, but in our community, we have none other than Bradley Vinson here to kind of help us through. Now, Bradley, you've been doing this for a while. As a profession, you were a graphic artist working in corporate America, right?
Yeah. I was at it in corporate America since 1996 in an official sense, right? But I've been doing graphics and art probably a lot longer than that. Yeah, but I've been doing it for nonprofit and corporate world since about 1996. Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome, man. So, what would be like if someone said, "Hey, this is kind of what I do most of the time"? What would it be like? What would be your, I guess, main thing that you would do with graphics? I mean, was it marketing graphics or was it poster, newspaper? What kind of graphics were you kind of doing most of all?
Yeah, I started off in print graphic design. So
Gotcha.
magazines, from business cards to billboards, right? If it was on paper or some kind of fabric, I did it. And that kind of changed in the mid 90s to if it shows up on the screen, I do it. So
Gotcha.
that was websites, presentations, that kind of, video editing, all that kind of stuff like that. So they kind of flipped for me in 1996, but having that print design background definitely helped me out on the other end with the multimedia design. So yeah.
You know what? And I'll probably talk about that on the other end of this. So let me just say hello to Tatiana. She's here hanging out with us today. So thank you for coming through. We have a lot to talk about, and we want to be sure that you get your questions answered today. Lights, camera,
action, join the Stream Team and be a part of the streaming network. Our goal is to help you succeed.
Hey, I love that. That was the new kind of intro to the show. My bridge, of course, from the countdown. So thank you, everybody, for coming through today. If you are here and you have a question about graphics, we have some already kind of set up. So I'm going to get the show started, of course, with Bradley. But all you have to do is put a Q in front of your question. I'll get a chance to see it and answer your questions about graphics. Don't be shy today. This show is built to help you, period. It's built to help you. So no question is a dumb question. We want to be sure that whatever you're doing with your graphics, you have a clear understanding. Now, we just talked about his experience, Bradley's experience, and I want to dive a little bit into how his experience for doing print and now doing it for video, how that affected him as far as his placement, where he put his fonts, how he placed his fonts, and all that kind of stuff. As I talk about this, again, please put your questions in the comments. All right, here we go. So Bradley, thank you so very much for being a part of the show today. Now, this whole show is built around a question and answer with you about graphics. And of course, I know people are going to come through and they're going to ask a bunch of questions, but I want to start it off with some of the questions that I have. With you having experience doing print first, there is, with print, there's bunch of different sizes, I'm sure, that you had to do. Sometimes you can do a full page and you got tons of a layout to use, and it may be smaller, like you said you was using a business card, same text, but different sizes. What did you learn from newspaper fonts and placement that you then transitioned to doing with video?
Yeah, I think it's really the placement of the text. And from being in the print world first, it was something that always held with me. And I think I might have said it 100 times already, even with doing this, is that print is meant to be read. Text is meant to be read, not RED, the color, but legible, right? Ready to read, right? So, and the space confines what you can put there, but you can use hierarchy in your text, different sizes of your text to add emphasis. And just learning those things in the print world, because that page is only so big, right?
Right.
But you can do something online and make people scroll. You can make them scroll left and right or up and down and get more real estate. But when something's printed on a sheet of paper, that's all you got. And so you have to work within the space you've been given, which is something like what we have here today, right? That screen is 16 by 9 proportional, and that's all the space I got. They're not going to be able to scroll a video left and right. So just knowing your space, knowing placement, knowing where the eye naturally goes, those type of things all helps with trying to do a layout that moved me from print into web. So, or web and multimedia design. So those were, really knowing where to put text to make an eye follow it, hierarchy of text, styles of text, those kind of things. So all those kind of, it's universal. So good design is good design.
Did you have personal rules when it came to your text, like always reading from left to right, how you stacked them, any triangles or shapes that you would make inside of what you did?
It depends on what I'm trying to do, because I did a lot of book cover design also, right?
Okay.
So it depends on, I remember doing a book. I did a lot of history books when I lived in Louisiana, because I worked for LSU Press, the Louisiana State University Press, for a while. So, I would do a lot of history type books, right? Which usually they wanted a mug shot of that person, which I'm like, okay, we got to put a mug shot.
Right.
But then there's like and so one of them was his handwritten letters was what the book was about. And so I actually took a sheet of one of his letters, crumpled it up, and then photocopied it to get that texture of crumpled paper like it was handwritten.
Wow.
And then I actually hand lettered the title of his book, so it looked like someone wrote it, right? And so there's ways to do things with text that gives an emphasis or gives a feeling for what you're trying to go after. So a lot of times it's not the font, it's what you do with it. So if I'm doing a book cover about Ghost and it's just called Ghost, and I'm only allowed to use text, right? Okay, so is there a way I could put these letters in the shape of a ghost or make it look halfway translucent, like it's disappearing, like a ghost, or have something in the text that's like a something in there, to kind of, and so it's all those things, right? What can you make that text do if that's all you have? So just all those different things. You kind of think through that with however you're designing it. So when you're trying to throw icons in or weird colors and stuff like that, I scrap all that. I start off black and white sketches or black and white design, and then add color to emphasize or enhance. Because if it doesn't work in black and white, color ain't gonna help it. So I always think that through as I do my stuff.
I like it. I've heard you say that a couple times before, and I want to be sure people get that point. So I use a lot of color, and I think color affects how I design. But for a real designer, you're saying black and white is where you should start and build it out and then add color later?
That's what I do. Now, if there's an attitude you're going after and things like that for color, so somebody says, well, my brand colors are
Right.
green and orange, make sure you use them. Okay, cool. I'm gonna keep that in the back of my mind. But if I just put a orange and a green dot on the page, that ain't gonna do nothing, right? The
Right.
design still has to be there. And so I do the design first and then figure out ways to make that color work within it. Now, I typically, even though I'm still multimedia computers everywhere and drawing tablets and all that stuff, I typically still start with pencil and paper whenever I can, just by sketching things out, thinking things through. And then I make whatever software I use make that happen.
Okay. So
And
let me
so it's
stop
like,
you
yeah.
right there because my
Mhm.
next question really is what's your process? And you're telling us ahead of time
Yeah.
as designers. Now, I will tell you this from my experience, some of the best designers are also great sketchers or drawers. They can really
Mhm.
draw well or artists, and they're able to draw and then say, I don't have any of that at
Yeah.
all. So, and we'll talk about how these other applications now help people like me because basically I use templates now, but that's a whole nother story. So as you are sketching it out, you're deciding in your mind using your own particular creativity, this is how I want this to look.
Right. And I'm gonna go back to the people that can't draw real quick too.
Thank you.
Think about squares, triangles, circles, stars, like the stars and stripes on the flag.
Okay.
Those basic shapes, you can still do geometry with those things and figure out a layout with those basic shapes. Just put that schematic into the software, then design inside of it. So it's like, hey, I want my thing to be split diagonally. Draw
Hmm.
a rectangle with a line through it. And that's you kind of starting to lay that out, right? So you don't
Right.
have to have eyeballs and a mouth and eyelashes if you're designing a person. You ain't got to do all that stuff. Just say oval forehead, rectangle for the shoulders. Okay, now, and then I'm gonna have to do some stuff around that. So now you go find you
Okay.
some clip art of a person and put over that oval and rectangle, right? And so don't let that be a hindrance to you telling the software what to do. Because a lot
Gotcha.
of people open up the software first and then let the software spit a design back out at them versus saying, okay, tool, whatever software I'm using, I want to make you do what my sketch says I want to have.
Right.
And so that's kind of how I always look at it. All these things are tools, but I start off by thinking about what I want. And sometimes I skip a sketch now because I have an idea of what I'm thinking about, and I can even make a quick sketch out of pieces of the software. Just draw, grab a rectangle, grab a circle, and do a quick layout that way, and then start making the text fit inside those pieces. And so there's all kinds of ways of doing sketches, but I just like to start on paper first, usually.
I like it. Mr. Albert is here with us saying hello. Thank you for being with us. So
Hey,
we're starting off with sketches first, and even if you can't draw, the note is you can use
basic
circles and
shapes. Yeah.
basic shapes to actually be able to help you. Okay, so don't let that be a stopping point. Again, if you got any questions, put a Q in the comments, and I will be sure to get to it. Now, as you have sketched it out, now you take it to your particular software to be able to use it. Now, I know you teach Keynote. I know you know how to do it all in Canva, but at the end of the day, what do you personally like to create in? What software?
Yeah. If I'm doing stuff for myself that I don't have to worry about trying to figure out the steps to show somebody else how to do it, I'm all over Adobe software package.
Got you.
Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign. I'm 99% in Adobe. And if it's something that I'm doing that I want to teach somebody how to do later, I'll still do it in Adobe first so I can get the technique down and know what steps I went through. And
Mhm.
then I try to duplicate that in Canva or duplicate that in something else without the crutch, I call it, of having Adobe Illustrator to leapfrog some of the hurdles that the other applications might have. And
I
so I just
got
kind of
it.
challenge myself that way.
Because
Because
you know Adobe Illustrator, you know Photoshop, and you know all of the bells and whistles and this layer, then copy that layer, and then
right,
do this and do that.
right.
With years of experience, where someone like me is coming in with Canva, I really did try. And be honest with you, not Illustrator, but Photoshop. I tried Photoshop, and it made my head hurt. Okay, it
It's a
really
beast,
did.
man. It's a beast. Well, the thing about Photoshop, and a lot of people, yeah, you can go get certified through Adobe to be a, Adobe Photoshop master or whatever else. But very few people in the industry know Photoshop top to bottom.
Got you.
Typically, if I'm a photographer, I'm going to use the tools in Photoshop to help me with photography,
Right.
right? If I do set design and I do illustrations for movies or movie posters, I'm going to use the illustration tools in Photoshop to help me paint something,
Right.
right? And Photoshop is just that deep where you don't even have to dabble with the other stuff. You could just dig in to what you do with Photoshop and just do that and have a career and never even know about some of the other functions of Photoshop. That's how vast and deep it is. So I never try to get people like, hey, learn Photoshop and all. What are you trying to do? And I'm
Right.
going to point you to those tools within Photoshop,
I
right?
got it. That
So
makes sense. So to be honest with you, what I was really trying to do with Photoshop is something that is extremely easy, and there are multiple ways to do it now, which is always removing the background on something.
yeah,
So I would go to Photoshop to do that, and now I would say 5, 6 years later, Canva came out with it, and I thought that was the best thing ever, that I can just do
right,
click, click, and it was done. And so that's why it kind of got me on the Canva road, because now it could do it handled one of the biggest hurdles for me. So now I wanted to try to do some other things and figure out how it works. So I then took the time to learn all the other things. And as
right.
Canva grew, I grew with it. So I learned
There you
something.
go.
Canva right now is just dumping out new applications, new application. They went from doing removing backgrounds to being a flyer design, a Facebook
Right,
post, an Instagram post, to now Facebook stories, uh,
right.
Instagram stories, and now reels are being made inside of Canva. So they really have gone to doing graphics to now doing video graphics.
Right.
And
Right.
I'm like, because it's in steps now, I'm just learning one feature at a time. And it makes
Right.
it
And
easier for me.
yeah, and they're launching new things based on their audience. I mean, and there's definitely competitors to Canva. Adobe has software that's a direct competitor to probably what Canva
What's it
is.
called?
I
Express?
think it's called
Adobe
Express.
Express?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And so there's multiple tools that do these things. Because I remember even so I know Canva can do video, but can I make animation sync to my audio in Canva? Like just that little extra thing that
Right.
people don't think about, right? So it's like, okay, how do I chop this up so where I can make this happen on that part of the voiceover and then switch to that when they say that word and make that animation show up when they say this. And so that's the kind of stuff I do with Canvas. Okay, oh, you have this new feature? Let me see if I can break it. How much stuff can I make it do? And then they're like, oh, okay, I can make it do that. So then I was like, when everybody else is doing this thing with Canva, I'm like, well, did you think about syncing it to your audio and making certain animations show up when you say them? It's like, you could
Right.
do that. Yeah. So that's the kind of stuff I look at when I started looking with Canva, because I know that that's not my main software of choice.
Right.
So it's always, let me not fall back on the crutch of the stuff I always use. If I'm going to use Canva, what extra can I make it do?
I
You know,
like
that
that.
kind of thing. So
I like that. So as we're talking about graphics, guys, listen, I need you to do me a favor. Hit the like button if you are hearing something that is really inspiring you about graphics, because we have so much more to talk about, even talking about some of the people that are in the comments. Missy Lane, two of my
hey,
favorite
Missy Lane.
creative professionals. Thank you so very much for hanging out with us tonight. We really do appreciate you coming through. And everybody that is watching, we're going to dive right into this. I'm stopping Bradley along the way, but I really want to get his creative process down. And we have a couple of other questions. If you have a question, don't hesitate. Chime in. So now you decided that, hey, I sketched it. I'm in an Adobe suite, whether that's Illustrator, Photoshop. I'm actually doing the design. And I know that you're going to first do design in black and white. And then after that, what's the next step?
Yeah, once I get the layout strong and I know it's going to work in black and white, I then start adding color for emphasis, right? Especially when I do logo design. And so if I'm doing a logo design or some kind of text design, I'm working on ways to manipulate that text to make it the best it can be, or even an animation. Then I start adding colors. Case in point, I remember I was doing some graphics for another person's show in the Ecamm fam, and
Gotcha.
they were talking about vertical video, right? So I'm sitting there and it's okay. Here's an easy way to make logos or easy way to make title screens for videos. Think about what they're talking about, and no matter how plain the font is, make the font work with what they're saying. And so when she said vertical video, I'm like, okay, vertical. That's this like this, right? So
Right.
how about I make certain letters stretch out as she's talking with the word vertical, right? So I can make the L grow. So make the ascender of the L grow as she's talking, right? And make the descender of the T grow. So now it
Wow.
really looks like it's going vertical. So
Right.
you have the word vertical, but now I'm actually making you think vertical because the letters are moving in a vertical direction. And so I'll build that out first, and then okay, vertical is taller than it is wide. And so I want to squeeze the letters together, right? To get
Mm-hmm.
that more vertical kind of look versus wide. And so all these different things are coming to mind, but I'm still sketching that first, right?
Gotcha.
And so as I get the word vertical locked in, it's like, okay, and it's hosted by so and so. So when do I make the word hosted by show up? When that descender on that T crosses a certain point, I'm going to make the hosted by show up, right? I make, and so it's all these different things. And so, but I'm working all that out in black and white. And now they're like, okay, well, my brand colors are, I'll say, okay, well, cool. Adding color ain't nothing
Right.
once you get the design locked in. But if I go in there saying, oh, if I make this blue, because blue means vertical and red means fast, and you're already in the wrong ballpark. And so it's always, what is a design saying? How are you trying to influence people? What are you trying to get them to think? Um, what is this animation doing? Is it just jumping on? No, there's a meaning behind it. And so it's all of that stuff, those little extras that I think that I'm trying to think of that other people might not think of. And so when they see they're like, oh wow, the letters are moving, just like this little stuff, as they're going through that makes them think about it. So sketch it, get it into Illustrator, draw the pieces out, and then it's like, okay, I really want to make this animation happen in Keynote. So now I'm bringing the puzzle pieces into Keynote, and I'm working out the animations. Do I make this animate by a reveal or by a move? Do I make the color box? Or do I make it fade in? And so all these different things start to come into play. Then you start adding your colors and stuff like that, and kind of get the wholeness of the design. Um, but it's just that multi-step process: sketch to rough to design to tighten the design to animating to tweaking to tweaking to tweaking to adding the color, adding the music, making that animation sync now
Got
to
it.
the music. Because if it has a rhythm, you want the animation to be with the rhythm. You don't want it
Right.
to be, oh, it just happens to be animating and just happen to have music in the background. No, I want them to mesh to make it look like a cohesive unit. And so all those things kind of come into play with that. So the print world stuff helped me make the word vertical but then the multimedia stuff helped me create a title animation, right?
I
So all
got it.
those things kind of work together.
So let me do this because I have a question for you really quick, but I want to shout a couple people out. Kimberly is here saying hello. Richard is here. Hey everybody, showing support for awesome show.
Appreciate
And
you. Appreciate you.
David is here. Ecamm fan back with another great yes. So we're just trying to help. You're here with the stream show. I'm DJ Strick. Of course, that's Bradley Vinson, and he is a graphics guru. And we're going over some things that really can help you. So if you're here and you have questions as we're talking about it, please put a Q in front of your question. We'll definitely be sure to get back to you. Felicia's saying great info. Using additional tools to be diverse in presentation is good, or it is great. So definitely saying that as well. I gotta ask you this question because this is one of my pet peeves that I never learned in design. Because I did learn design. But I know how important it is to have the right font. Do you have some key fonts or go-to fonts for your graphics at all?
Especially for video, because it makes it a little bit easier because, look at Facebook, look at Twitter, look at Instagram. They're using sans serif fonts, which is no feet. So it's not Times New Roman, it's not Garamond, and those are for books.
Gotcha.
For video, you need to be using sans serif fonts, and there's tons of them. But frankly, my go-tos, I love Futura because the O's are really round and nice. I love curves. And so, and perfect circles and things that look good in geometry
Okay.
kind of setups. And so Futura has perfectly round O's, perfectly round A's and E's. The arch of their H is a perfect circle if you completed the circle. So it's all those things, right? So now, because I think in circles and lines. And so I love Futura. Impact is a good bold font. I don't get too crazy because I want my animations and the design to be impactful and not have some crazy font where somebody has to figure out what the font is and what the word is.
Gotcha.
Now, I'll go a little crazy sometimes with different icons and things, but here's what I say too. I would first say sans serif because they can be read in a smaller font face, in a smaller size. Serif fonts are hard to read at smaller sizes, and they're not really made for video. And so when I see them, I know that people don't know any better because they're trying to get too fancy where I can't even read that.
Gotcha.
But yeah, so I would say sans serif fonts. There's plenty of them, but like I said, Futura or Folio are some of my favorites. And and it can work at a small size. Now you can do a fancy font if it's going to be huge.
Okay.
Like I think you've seen an illustration before of my signature coming across the screen.
I have,
But
which
it's
is really cool.
it's full screen. It ain't like in a corner.
Right.
It's full screen, so it's legible at that size. And so that's kind of what I go after. Now, here's a rule of thumb that I want to give folks when you're picking a font. Most fonts have a signature letter. And what I mean by that, so especially the fancier fonts, sans serif are not that great at it, but most of the fancy fonts do. Look at the S's or the J's. Sometimes it's a Z, different stuff like that, but it's a signature font. So the rest of the font might look pretty plain, but then when you get to that capital S, it has a little extra on it. Even if it's a sans serif font, it might have some kind of little extra curvature. It may have like a little angle to it that the other letters don't have. Oh yeah. Oh, when I did the signature animation, yeah, and I showed people how to do that. That was pretty fun. And then as you go through, look at fonts and look at all the letters in that font face and see if it has a couple of signature letters that jump out at you. There's another thing called ligatures. So
hold on.
Yeah.
I know you're in a groove. Oh my gosh, you're absolutely in a groove. And
Yeah.
G. Albert I've seen your question. We're going to get to your question in just a second. But I wanted to get through these processes, and I had a couple questions to start off with. And I don't want you to move too fast because you gave a real graphic tool that now I can use when I'm choosing fonts that I never knew, to look at the J's or look at the S's to tell the difference between some fonts. You know, fonts really could look the same. If I'm going through Canva, through all of those fonts, a lot of times right next to each other, they all kind of look the same, or they're so different I can't get an idea of where I want to go. But if you say, hey, you know, whatever your text is, make sure that text that you're trying to see how that script would look, add a S and a J to be sure that that signature font is exactly what you want. I think that's definitely a place for us to kind of stop to be sure people get that point.
Yeah, and a lot of fonts have it. It's usually in the more fancy fonts because that's how
Kimberly said, thanks, slow it down.
Yeah. Well, the people that design fonts, they want their font to stand out.
Right.
So even if you and I both made a font, and even if they're sans serif fonts, so it might look like Helvetica or Arial. Everybody knows what those fonts are. They're standard on your Mac and even on a PC. But I need my font to be special. And so I might do something different with the O. I might put a slash through the O in my font. Or my T, the lowercase one might have the crossbar at an angle instead of straight, right? And so a lot of fonts have these signature letters within them, and that can be what that little extra in your layout, even though you're using a sans serif font, that can be the little extra that distinguishes that from different. Now, I dig in all the way, and I'll even turn fonts into shapes, and I'll make the crossbar on that T an angle myself, right? I'll go edit that letter. I just want to type the T. I'm like, okay, something needs to be different. So I'll draw my own cross hash on that T and delete the other one, right?
Okay.
And so I dig that deep into making font stuff because when you're dealing with sans serif, it can get basic on you. So it's like, okay, what can I do to enhance it?
Okay.
You know, can I make this T a little bit taller than normal? Can I make this J a little bit lower than normal? So if somebody else just typed out that same word, it won't look the same as the way I did it.
Wow. So you use a little bit more creativity with your fonts. And I'm like, Jesus, I just hope this works. I make sure people can read it. I have my standard and I go. Now, one thing that I did learn about fonts as I have used certain applications is fonts look different whether they're lowercase or capitalized. Could you talk about that as well?
Yeah, when you're doing blocks of text, so say for instance, you want to put notes about today's show and you have a blocks of text or even a paragraph of text lined up on the side of the screen. That's the downside of sans serif fonts. You don't want to do those all caps because the eye can't pick up on the differentiation between words.
Gotcha.
You need to go upper and lower so the eye sees some movement and they can kind of cut up the words. When it's all caps, they're all the same size, just look like lines, right? And so you always want to think about all those things when you're dealing with fonts. So if it's a title, all caps is fine. I mean, just like now, when you put everybody's quotes on the screen, if that was all caps, it'd be a lot harder to read.
It'd be a lot harder to read.
But because, but because you see ups and downs, you can easily see the gaps. So I can now glance at that and read it. You don't want people to have to study something to read it. But if it's big, it's easier. So the smaller you get, the more refined you have to get about how you put your type together. And size is important too.
I was going to ask you a question about size and when to bold. Like, how do you decide, okay, whether I want this bold or not? Is that still something a part of the creative process?
Yeah, I mean, because I bold things that I want to add emphasis to easily. Bold is a design element if used properly, right? Even stretching text a little bit wider than its normal proportion is a design technique to add emphasis outside of just going italic or whatever else, right? Putting a box behind some of the text and reversing it out versus other text that's not in a box, right?
Okay.
All these things are ways to add emphasis. But when you're doing text for video, always go a little bit bigger than you think you need to.
Okay.
Because a lot of the video world is looking at their stuff on
The
this,
phone.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And so when you're like, oh, that looks great on my 17-inch, 22-inch, 30-inch monitor when I'm designing it, and somebody picks up their phone and they can't read none of your lower thirds
Right.
because you designed it to look good on a 30-inch monitor,
Not
but
a
your
phone.
audience is watching it by phone, right? So go a little bit bigger than you think you need to go. And that can vary by font because some fonts are naturally bigger than others. But because there's a rule of thumb with that. But all those kind of things come into play. And text is an awesome design tool if used properly. You don't have to use all these graphics and all that kind of stuff if you use text properly. And so it's an easy design element for people.
Hey, I want to stop you right there. Miss Felicia is trying to shut this show down. She said, DJ Strick, you're an amazing host, great show. Like, I just could stop right there. I
There you
am
go.
absolutely done.
There you go.
Thank you so very much for the compliment. The reason why we're doing the stream show, we say it all the time, the mission is to help streamers succeed. We want to help you guys get better. And I know from doing graphics and trying to do all the stuff that it comes with being a great host, being a great content creator, you have to take things in doses. So as we are talking about it today, I'm hoping that you're at a place where you can get one or two things from Bradley today that can take what you're doing to the next level. I'm hoping that I'm asking the right questions so you could take it to the next level. And I do have another question. Albert, I'm coming to your question in just a second. I haven't forgot about you up there. When do you do multiple fonts, Bradley? So when do you come in and say, hey, I want to have, so sometimes I would do regular font, and then if I want to make something stand out, I would do it in a cursive for that one word underneath the bold print. When do you, in your creative process, decide, hey, I want this to be a different font?
Yeah, I go by the rule of thumb in a general sense. I rarely go beyond 2 fonts. Sometimes I'll go 3 fonts, but 2 of those fonts look like they could be in the same family.
Okay.
Right. So say for instance, I'm using a font and it doesn't have a good looking bold version, right? Because I rarely use the canned click the B or click the I to make it bold.
Okay.
I use the bold version of that font.
Of that font. Okay.
Right.
So,
You see what I'm saying?
So no, that's
Yeah.
not that easy. No, everybody don't know that. So before we go this, so Kimberly's saying great jobs, always learning something. So thank you for learning. And then Lemuel is here hanging out with us. Thank you so very much for coming through the show. We got to get together really soon, sir. So thank you for hanging out with us. Instead of hitting the bold button, you're saying now find that font in bold. And why would that be different?
Because the bold that you click on in Word or even Illustrator or whatever else, that's
Canva
a
as well.
computer. Yeah. And that's a computerized generic what they think bold would be.
I got it.
And so typically that's basically adding an extra stroke. They put an extra stroke on it to make it beefier, right? And in doing that, in some cases, your B's, the hole might get thinner inside that B, or your S might be a little bit deformed because it's just kind of computerized, canned bold. But if that typographer went through the trouble of designing a medium version and a bold version, and sometimes people call it black, so it's
Gotcha.
like an extra bold version of that font, they've thought through that. So now it could be a big, bold B, and that opening inside that B is still nice and round
Gotcha.
because they designed a bold version versus the computer adding a stroke on it in a sense to make it bold,
I get
right?
it.
And
I
so,
never knew that.
yeah,
Absolutely learning something new today. If you're learning something and you have not hit the like button, what are you doing? Let us know that you're learning something by hitting that button for me today as we continue to talk to Bradley. He is the guru of the graphics for a reason, guys. He's teaching us some of the fundamental things that we would never knew. Sometimes, Bradley, I would say this. The templates that we're using now can handcuff you to not
yeah,
know when you are doing something wrong. Now, most of the templates are done the right way that don't have multiple fonts in them. But if you change something and then decide to change a font, like we don't know that, not that it's wrong, but aesthetically,
right,
it may not look good if you're using multiple fonts in different families, and it doesn't make any point. Like
right.
it's not
I
bringing
call it
out a
ransom note design.
there you go. There you go. Like if
Yeah,
it was a ransom note, we get it. That would be cool
right,
if you're doing it on purpose. But sometimes you don't know what you don't know.
right,
And I do believe people could look at what you're doing and actually dismiss it because it's not aesthetically pleasing to the eye. And we know this. Even on thumbnails, right? We know even on thumbnails, if it's not aesthetically pleasing to the eye, it could reduce your views because people are
right,
not watching it, okay?
right.
People are not watching it. Now, I don't know if I stop you. Let's do this because it's been some time now, and I want to be sure. Number one, Tatiana, you should be here taking notes. I want to be sure you're still hanging out with me. But G. Albert here, I want to bring up his question really quick, and then I'll be sure to get back. We're talking about fonts. I'll be sure to get back to that because I want to be able to get his question up. There's like 15 different versions of Canva. Since you're saying building blocks, not Anna infusions, but what are your recommendations to use for starters? Canva, design, put it back up here, photo, video. Where do you start? Design, photo, video. I guess he's asking, should I be starting with a photo design inside of Canva,
Oh, I
video
got you. I
design
got you. I
inside of
got you.
Canva? Where should they
Okay,
start?
don't matter. Because when I typically do graphics for videos, I start off with a presentation design in Canva. It's the shape of my easel, so to speak, versus a canned template. Because yes, in some cases, if you start off with an IG, if I'm answering the question correctly, please let me know if I'm answering the question you're asking. So, say for instance, I start off with an IG template, right? There's only certain things that are available to me if I pick IG because they're assuming I'm making a static design. So a lot of the video bar won't be at the bottom, things like that. So to me, I start off with a presentation because I need my canvas to be 16 by 9. I'm not worried about thumbnails and templates, and I need my canvas to be 16 by 9 so I can design for my video and know where my graphics are being placed. So to me, you start off with what you're trying to end with based on canvas size. Now, if you're going to be doing video and you're doing a reel or an Instagram video, start with a square video and design that because you're going to have some elements around you that's going to help you design a video. If you're going to be doing a static design, it don't matter what you pick. So think about static versus video and then go from there. After that, it's the shape of the canvas you need. So if I'm making a Facebook graphic, just pick Facebook so you can get the right size canvas, then design on that. If you're making something for video, but it's going to be static, just pick a 16 by 9 presentation screen and design on that. So it's the end purpose that you should be thinking of, not how do I start, if you know what I mean.
All right, so we're coming back. So I'm back live with you guys, and Bradley is coming back as well, so we can get back here on screen. Don't know what the issue was with that. So that is called being live and live streaming. Okay. So I did remember this, Tatiana, that you did take notes, and it's cool that you're listening because you're still going to learn. And Bradley with the ransom notes and hostage. There you go.
Oh yeah, you remember that? Yeah.
So great question. Why would that be different? So let me say this: as people it's kind of like as I'm teaching like content creation, like one of the notes that I have or one of the points that I make is always start with the end in mind. So if you have the end being a Facebook post, which is going to be, it could be what, 1080 by 1080. This is going to be a square basically.
Square. Mm-hmm.
If you start with a presentation, which is 16 by 9, which is going to be 1920 by 1080,
right,
and you say, okay, I built this out. Now I need to make a Facebook post. And you can, some kind of way, Facebook is maneuvering things around, but it's not going to be the right shape for an actual post. If you start bigger and want to make it smaller, it's more difficult than
right, because that's not how,
because you used all the landscape. So basically, so sometimes I have to create multiple things. I know where I know I need to make a Facebook post, and I know if I can get the smaller square, the 1080 by 1080, and then if I have to do a presentation size, all I need to do then is with Canva now, you just copy and resize so you never lose your first one. You still have the first one, but you're making a second one, and then I spread everything out to use that landscape. So that's just a tidbit from me. I'm not the guru, but I just wanted to give that tip.
Yeah, and then there's some apps that have that kind of auto reformat. I forget the names of them. It was one I was using before, and it's like, oh, would you like this in Facebook size? You just click the button, and it does its best. You still gotta move some stuff, but always think of the end in mind. And I hope that I answered the initial question about.
So there's a couple of things there. There's a couple of things there. Let me see. If I went to the right place, like I want to be sure. Am I back up? I am back up because I'm behind me. So let me see.
And I'm back up too. Yeah, it just told me thank you for being here or something.
Okay,
then I had the reconnect button, so I was able to jump back in.
Cool. So I just got a text and I thought they were talking about the stream, but it's something else. So I do want to say this. Albert talked about the different versions of Canva. Mm-hmm. You want to get the latest version. So however you're using the desktop version or the browser version, try to be sure that you're using the latest version. It's going to give you all the features and all of the functions that is the latest with Canva. Now, inside of Canva, go ahead. You're probably going to answer that question.
I think we're kind of getting into lingo and terminology. I think he was asking version, but I think he meant what kind of template do I start with?
I got you.
Based on how his question ended. Because Canva doesn't have multiple versions based on design and video and photo. Those are things you can do in Canva.
Inside. It's a feature.
You see what I'm saying?
Okay,
yeah.
Got it.
Because at first, when I was first reading, I'm like, there's only one version of Canva, or two versions, the free and the paid, right? There's not a design version. There's not a photo version. There's not a video version. Right. All those things are in both.
He's talking about those features. Once you go into it, you can say, hey, I want to make a video. I want to make a presentation. I want to make an Instagram story or okay, I get it. YouTube thumbnail. And those should be, I guess, versions. But there's just different features you can go under inside of Canva, which gives everybody
different templates.
It gives you, I think it's robust. It's definitely growing. I would say this, and I know you would probably say it, learning Photoshop for people that are going to be graphic artists is cool, but Canva makes some of the things so quick and easy. Like I'll be honest with you, it's just hard for me to get away because of the ease of being able to do multiple things from, right now, people are getting away from just static flyers. Like everything has to move, but you're able
Right.
to make a static flyer inside of Canva and then automate the pieces inside of that flyer move, and you have a video, and you can post it in several places, and it's a moving video
There you
more
go.
than a
Yep.
static flyer.
Yep.
You can't do that in Photoshop.
You can make animations in Photoshop. Yeah.
And I would never know. I would
Yeah,
never
they're more
know.
timeline based and not as easy as Canva. I'll say that. It's more timeline based, but yeah, you can make them in Photoshop.
There you go. There you go. So there's a couple other things I want to talk about here. So Kimberly is saying that you can resize and Canva copy and resize in Canva. Yes, you can. And then Felicia has another question. What are some font colors to avoid? What's the rule of thumb?
Okay, I'm finna get nerdy.
Come
If I
on.
hadn't been nerdy enough already, I'm finna get nerdy. Okay, there's a thing called simultaneous contrast. It usually happens a lot around Christmas time when you see red and green next to each other and the little line between them starts to vibrate. That's simultaneous contrast. And how that happens is that two colors, no matter what the colors are, if you converted that to black and white or gray tone, they're a similar tone. And when those colors are next to each other, the edge vibrates between them. And that's called simultaneous contrast. It happens a lot with red and green because those red and greens that are standard for Christmas are a very similar tone. It can also happen with orange and purple. It's usually colors that are opposite of themselves on a color wheel. So the only colors I would say not to use would be the colors that are wrong for the design.
Okay.
So if you're doing an invitation to a boy's birthday party, don't use pink because pink
Right.
signifies girl, right?
Right.
Purple might work, but maybe not purple, maybe not pink, right? And so just use colors, but consider the background and consider how those colors go together. Now, if you want to have a jarring effect, use colors that can create that simultaneous contrast or that are not complementary to each other on the color wheel. There's tertiary, complementary. You got all kinds of ways that colors can fit together. And there's really no wrong color unless it's the opposite of what you're trying to say in the design, right? And so that's like me saying, all dogs go to heaven, but the text is red. So it's like, wait a minute, red is kind of hell. Why would you
Right.
say all dogs go? You see what I'm saying? And so
Right.
it's like that kind of stuff. So there's no wrong colors.
Well, how
But
do
there
you
can be
know? How do you know what a color is saying? Now I know it's like green is gold. I know blue could be cool. It's a
Yeah.
cooling type color. Like
Yeah.
how do you figure out what those colors are saying? Because again, if we're talking to people that are, I want to be a content creator, don't have,
Right.
may not have a clue about graphics. Like where can I find the information about? And I'm sure like you can just Google what the colors
Yeah.
say.
Yeah, and that's the easiest. I was just about to say, just Google. What is that? It's kind of like how do colors make you feel, right?
Got you.
Those kind of things. Because like, there's a reason that McDonald's is red and yellow, right? Because that's supposed to initiate hunger to try to make you feel hungry. And now, if you go across the whole spectrum of most fast food restaurants, guess what the color is?
Right.
Some form of red or yellow or red
Right.
and white, because it just signifies heat, hunger, that kind of stuff, right? Warm is the color it is because that's what color they're using. A lot of banks use the blues and greens because that shows stability, money, loyalty, longevity. There's different attitudes that colors hold, right? So, and though, most people think of goth people if they wore teal blue all the time, right?
It would be
It
sending
just don't fit
a completely
what,
different message.
right? And so it's that kind of thing. So yeah, I forget, the attitude or whatever that colors evoke, and there's charts about it and all kind of different stuff like that, and there's different studies on it. But you definitely want the color to fit the design, right? If you're a stable, calm, chill kind of person, like if I had bright red or bright yellow behind me, it doesn't fit who I am. That's why I use blues and purples and soothing colors, because I want people to be calm, because learning new stuff can make people anxious.
Right. Right.
So I want you to be chill when you come hang out with me and just calm down. We're gonna get through this together, right? So I use those kind of colors.
I like that.
But yeah, but those different colors evoke different emotions, and there's all kinds of studies and charts on it. And like I said, black and white first, and then use the color to help you evoke an emotion, right?
Right.
And just use the color chart to help you with that.
So you talked about the color chart. Kimberly is giving a good one. She also says, take a look at professional websites and graphics. So you can always look, and I'm a Coca-Cola guy. Like, I am a Coke guy. For whatever reason, the red can just really, I just resonate with that. I resonate with it. So and I will say this, because if you drink a Coke or a Pepsi, guess what? They're still a cola. I know they have a little bit of a different taste, but I think people really resonate with either the difference between white and red, or white, red, and blue.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, I mean, you can get either one. It's a cola, okay?
Right.
That being said, I also heard that if you are looking at a color wheel, it's the colors on the opposite side of that color wheel that are best combinations. Is that
Yeah,
right?
they're complementary. Yeah, they're complementary. That's called complementary.
Gotcha.
And so, yeah, they're exact opposites of themselves on the color wheel. Then you have what's called tertiary. You have, oh Lord, you're gonna make me try to think of all these words. Now you have colors that are next to each other on the color wheel, right? So if I use Roy G. Biv, all the colors of the rainbow.
Okay.
ROYGIGBIV, right? Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. That's colors of the rainbow, Roy G.
Gotcha.
Biv. So colors that are next to each other are also complementary in a way, right? Then you have those that are polar opposite. Then you have one color here, then the two colors that are on the other side of the complementary color. So there's all kinds of combinations that you can use that make colors fit together, right? A great color website is called Coolors, COOLORS, like colors with the extra O in the beginning. So Coolors.
Gotcha.
Not EROR. And you can put in blue and say, match this for me. And it's going to give you 4 more colors to go with it, right? So you could have a color. It's going to give you 3 more, 4 more, 5 more colors to go with it to help you create good designs. And so that's a really good website that I've used before. There's others. And you can use it for free. You don't have to make an account. And what I've done is I've made it randomly generate me some color charts. Then I screen capture it.
Did I get this right?
Yeah, I think it's called Coolors. And I'll look it up on my other screen while I'm sitting there talking to you. But and so I'll let it pick the colors for me like that. Nope, that ain't it.
Okay. We're gonna find the website for you, because I think it's important to get the information out to you while you're here today. Please make time. If you heard some information that is really helping you, click the like button for me. That being said, colors are important to what you do. Felicia has a question.
There it is.
I'm going to get
It's
to
not
in just a second.
It's not .com. It's .co.
.co.
Yeah, so I did have it right.
.co. Okay.
Yeah. Yep. And so I'll have it make me color charts and then just screen capture them. And now when you bring that into, in my case, Photoshop, Illustrator, whatever else, I can open up that graphic on the side and eyedropper it, right? And then pick those colors and make my whole color scheme.
I
so,
like it.
Yeah. And so I'm all for using the tools, what they're designed for, and using them for free if I can. And so, because you don't really need a membership to that.
Show. Gotcha.
Yeah, that's it. And now it's .co, not .com.
Right. He put it in there as well.
Okay.
That is some amazing information, guys, and this is just another step for you. Okay, you've been building thumbnails, you've been doing graphics, you've been trying to make posts and trying to do things that to help get yourself some visibility. These are some small tools that you can use as we're talking today about it. So as you're coming in and you got questions, please ask questions. I have tons of questions for him because there's a lot of things that I've done not based off of information I've gotten because I hadn't gone to school for this, but basically using templates and trying to stay inside the lines unless there's a creative reason to go outside of the lines to get attention. So I have learned enough to do that. So I think this is a great question that Felicia has as well. Is there a good rule of thumb to use color palettes of the year for more visibility? And basically what she's saying, like the color contrast.
Yeah, I've never done that. I don't know if the general audience even knows there's a color chart of the year. I know that in fashion and in somewhat in design, there is such a thing where that happens, and sometimes it comes out a couple of times a year. And it's like, oh yeah, this year is fall is the thing, right? And it's these 5 colors. And yeah, if you want to fit trends and things like that, especially if you can latch on to someone else that's doing it well, like a fashion brand or something like that, and that's your niche, kind of riding alongside of them doing your graphics and your design. So whenever they see that brand, they think of you also, right? Because, that's kind of that YouTube kind of thing, right?
Right.
You want to be that next suggested thing,
Right.
right? And so, yeah, I mean, if that's your thing for that, but I think the rest of the world, that's our consumers, don't really notice that. Now, the general person might pick up on, man, everything looks the same. So that can be a negative too, right? So you see what that color chart is, grab that color chart, then move over 2 spaces on the color wheel on each of those colors. So now when there's 8 designs that use that color chart, yours is just a little bit skewed over to the left or to the right on the color wheel, and now you look extremely different but comfortable to that look, right? So they've gotten used to that. It looks cool, but now you're over there. It's like it's not quite the same, but I like it, right? Because all you did was you just move 2 spaces over on the color wheel on each of your colors, and now you have something complementary to those colors, but not exactly those. So that's how I would use it personally if I did that.
So let me add something that even I'm doing right now or trying my best to do right now, Bradley. So G. Albert did say, hey, I don't know in my other slide if I actually had the S in colors, so colors with an S.co, that should be the address. But if I take this color here and put it like I can put it on your shirt and basically it's very visible, okay? Everybody could see that right now. But if I put it in another place, like over here, from a lighter background, that's harder to see. And I don't know if she's asking that question, but those are things you want to think about in your design as well. 2 different colors, right, but the colors are not as far enough to make this word stand out. Of course, you could put another color behind it, outline it in the black, and that will make it stand out. And all those things are possible as well, correct?
Yes. Now, the 2 most highest contrasting colors you can use is black or white. And we're going kind of almost coming full circle again now, right? So
yes, we are.
If that coolers.co was instead my logo, right? And yes, you can see behind me, my brand colors are blue, white, and black. Mm-hmm. I got an accent of purple, things like that. But as you see here, I made my logo work in one color.
There you go.
Right? And it's highly contrasting to this black. Now, if I put that blue and the black on top of this, it wouldn't pop as much.
Gotcha.
Think about that when you're making graphics for your videos. Now, I can control my background. I know exactly how this background is going to look every time. Maybe not my shirt, but I know what this background is going to look like every time. So if I wanted to put a white logo over there, I know it's going to punch, right? If I wanted to put a black logo over there, I know it's going to punch.
Gotcha.
Right? And because I control my background, I can make a black version of my logo and a white version of my logo. And I just put up the one that I know is going to be the highest contrast and work. Now, if I wanted to make a yellow version, that's cool, but does it add anything? Because the white one does just as good as far as contrast, right? You see what I'm saying? If it didn't work in black and white, me making this color ain't gonna make it no better.
Wow, I like it.
But because it works in black and white, I can add color and it can only help it.
So let me say this. First of all, Parker, thanks for hanging out with us tonight. Thanks for coming through. Bradley, if you had different, well, I'm answering my question already. So with your logo that's in white, okay, your logo is in white, and say you are now using multiple shirts. It's not a black shirt. It's a red shirt. Well, white will still work. But say it's a yellow shirt. White wouldn't stand out as much. Would you then transfer that logo to black?
Yes.
Or something, another color?
Right. I would transfer it probably to black, because then that way I don't have to keep trying to figure out what color works with a shirt. I either got a black version or a white version. And the colors of the shirt can keep changing, but this logo is going to pop off either one. Like I said, the two most highest contrasting colors, no matter what other color is with it, is black and white. That's
Gotcha.
it.
So,
And so
going back to saying now, even when I had the Coolers logo up, if I wanted to take any color and then outline it in a black or outline it in a white, depending on what is standing behind it, that's going to help it stand out.
somewhat. I'm not really for outlining text if I can help it on video.
Okay.
In print, yeah, I'll do that. The reason I don't like doing it in video is because there's so many moving elements, and sometimes that outline can be a distraction, right? But like you see now, Bradley and Strick are in boxes.
Right.
And so even though the word Bradley and Strick are light, what's making it contrast is the black box.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? And that color is bouncing off that black box. You see how it works now? Because like even here, I'm not going to leave this up for long. I'm just going to put up for half a second. My Bradley teaches thing, right? Now, it changes colors and all that. But what I'm doing is that the text is contrasting off the bubble. It's not contrasting off the background. And because I'm using a background that's so big, all I'm worried about is not if the background is contrasting with my video, but make sure that the text contrasts with that background, if you get what I'm saying.
I do.
And so once you add other elements as a backdrop for your text, the sky's the limit as far as contrasting. Because that little box doesn't have to be a big contrast as long as that text on that box is a contrast. That's what you're going after.
Got you. That makes a lot of sense. And I thank Felicia for putting up that website for me again. Hey, guys, this has been very informative. Bradley and I have talked, okay? So I want to say this to everybody that's listening to us or having this show. Bradley's going to be more in the community to help us, so he's going to be way more visible. There's several things that he has going on I want you guys to know about, but he's going to be coming to help out on the stream show. So we're going to do more shows about graphics and have him come on to help you guys. So please, anytime you see him, please support what he's doing. Bradley, can you talk about some of the things you have coming up with Bradley Teaches?
Yes, so a couple of cool things I'm working on right now is obviously more digital products to kind of help people get a head start on what they're doing. But more so now, leaning into more workshops and things like that, kind of an hour and a half long, intensive, show you how to do 3, 4, 5 different things graphically that you can then use to enhance your videos and take along with you, right?
Gotcha.
And keep those at a price that's real reasonable for people. Even if I'm doing them once a month, I'm also now contemplating a membership where people get free graphics and then Q&A time with me once a month, where it's like you bring your projects to me and we're going to work through them,
Wow.
one-on-one or in a group setting, and we're going to knock those things out. Because my thing is empowering people to do things on their own if they want to, but if they don't want to, I can help them there too. But I'm just trying to empower those folks that are in a position where they have to be the jack of all trade or Jackie of all trades. Or if they're just they want to dabble a little bit and want to be able to make their own graphics and not have to call nobody. Don't have to
Right.
get on Fiverr and all that stuff. And so I
Right.
want to help those people out, empower them to make some cool stuff and knock down these hurdles for y'all. So yeah, so those are 2 or 3 things that I'm working on right now. We'll be launching probably within a month, a lot of that stuff. So just excited about it and just getting more of this content out in front of y'all.
So you don't have to worry about Bradley's time now. He's making himself available to all of us. So giving of his time and everything he's doing. And Lemuel has probably said it the best. He's not only just a great designer and teacher, but he's an incredible papa to his grandchildren. I love the man, and I love the man as well for who he is, not
Appreciate
just for
y'all.
what he provides to the community, but his willingness to be a help to all of us. So thank you so very much for your time tonight. This has been awesome. I know I probably asked tons and tons of questions, and I have more. So the next time you come on, I will go from the next thing outside of text to whatever may be next in designs. Let's talk about shapes and how the circles, rectangles, and squares all work together to have a great graphic. Maybe we'll focus on something that I work on all the time, which is thumbnails, like how to make an aesthetically eye-catching thumbnail. What do you think?
Oh, I'm all in for it, man. And I saw you put the little bug in there that I'll be back. Of course, I'll be back. Whenever you need me here, man, I'm here. I love the show, man. Love hanging out with you. So let's put them on the calendar, man, and get them rolling.
Let's do it. Let's do it. So thank you very much for your time. Hey, guys, same thing next Sunday. So next Sunday is the day before we're all going out to Albany, New York for People of Video. So if everybody's going to People of Video, we'll see you there. If you haven't got your ticket yet, you still have time. You can use the code ECAMFAM to get a discount on your tickets. We want to see you there, okay? So it'll be really, really fun to see everybody up there. So Elaine, thank you so very much. Thank you, DJ, for your questions on the spot. Bradley, thank you. And I learned something new every time you speak. I don't know if she's talking about you or me, Bradley, but I'll take it. And you take it as well. Hey guys, I'll see you next Sunday right here on the Stream Show.
Hey, this is DJ Strick, and I would like to thank you for watching another edition of the Stream Show.